Hello and welcome to Crafts for Kids. I'm your host, Jann. It's time to think about going back to school. It's an exciting time. You'll meet new classmates and new teachers, and hopefully get a few new school supplies, like a pencil, the essential tool for school. And this pencil inspired today's back to school crafts. We have animal pencil cups. We have a busy bee who loves to go to class and make crafts. We have a wise owl who likes to help with school lessons. We have a cozy teddy bear just to keep you company, and I'll make a funky frog to give you an idea of how we make these. We need an empty can. Make sure there's no pokey bits inside. And it can also be cardboard. I think this had breadcrumbs in it, and it's been trimmed down so it's a good height. We can work with felt in the colors of your choice. This is what I chose, but you're not limited to that. We need some sort of glue. White glue did not work here. I love to work with white glue, but it did not work with felt. So I recommend a couple of things. A glue gun used with an adult to stand by, make sure everything's good, or some sort of fabric glue or multi-surface glue. Whatever you choose, do a little test on a scrap. Let it dry overnight just to make sure it really works, and then you're good to go. You will also need a sharp pair of scissors. Small with points is helpful. Straight pins or little clips are optional. They might be helpful. A ruler is optional. I used it quite a bit. And to mark on felt, if it's a light color felt, a soft pencil works really well. If it's a dark felt, like the stripes on the bee, plain old chalk works really well. And I'll do a little test for you and show you how that works. Now I've designed the patterns for the animal cups. This is what they look like, and they're separated bee, owl, teddy, and frog. And Peg TV will have them on their website for you to use. Now the patterns, you can use them as is, or it can just be a jumping off point. Maybe you want the teddy bear to be a fox. Maybe you want the bee to be pink. A lot of bees are actually black with yellow stripes, but we often draw them yellow with black stripes. So you have lots of options to do it the way you want. So the first step in making all of these is to cover the base with felt. So this is one way to do it. This is what I found helpful. If I put the can this direction and take the felt and line up the corner of it slightly over the edge of the bottom of the can, and then notice where the felt hits the top of the can. And then I take scissors and I make a little snip. And that's just to mark it. And then fold the felt in half, matching the corners, and then make another little snip, just where you did the original one. So I've done that. And that shows you what the height of the can is. And cans are a little bit different. Then I will take a ruler or some sort of straight edge and line it up with these little snips and then mark it. And that worked just fine. And the next step is to cut it. And then we have our base ready to go. Just cut this. Nice and even as possible. Doesn't have to be perfect. Mine is never perfect. But that's the fun of it. Okay, I don't need that anymore. And now to glue it on. The first thing I do, just to make sure it fits. So I hold it like this, wrap it around, and see what kind of overlap it has. And it overlaps very nicely, so it's just fine. Now here's one way to glue it. This is what I found to be useful and pretty easy. I'm going to use this glue because it's easier in a TV set to avoid using all these cords. So I first have to make sure it squeezes. And it's nice to put something underneath. When you're working with glue, you can put a piece of foil or an old grocery bag or something to protect the surface. But I'm just going all the way around the edge and hopefully not get it on the tablecloth. Just go around, squeeze a nice bead of glue. And you want it to be close to the edge, but not exactly. And then it's helpful to do in the middle a little bit. Okay, now we always put the cap right back on. That's always a good idea. And now place the can, lining it up with the felt. Hopefully this goes well. And roll it. Making sure to cover all the edges. And that worked pretty well. And then give it a good press and roll it, and that really helps make the felt adhere to the can. And then if there's any edges sticking up, there's an edge right there. You can trim it off. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. I hope you are. Okay, the next step, every animal has a feature that is a really good starting point. For the frog, it's the eyes. Eyes are key to the frog. So I'm going to make sure the seam is down. And then I think I'll put a little something to make sure it doesn't roll away. And I have made the eyes, but I'll show you how to do that. The first step is to take the pattern and cut out in the frog section the eye. The green is the biggest one. So cut out the pattern and pin it or clip it, or you can just hold it. Now I'll cut this out. And frogs have big, big eyes. And when you get to where the pin is, just push it in so it's out of the way. And keep cutting as smoothly as you can, going around the pattern. And you'll want to make 2 green, 2 white, and 2 black. Now I want to pull the pin back so it's out of the way. And keep going around, okay? Pull the pin out. And then I check it, and if there's any really funky little points, I usually chop those off. Okay, so now we have 2 greens. We have 2 white, which I've already cut. So the eyes have green, white, and black. Okay, the next step is to make the black. Now there's what I thought worked really well, and I've noted on the patterns, to cut around a coin makes a very nice circle. So I'll show you how I do that. I just take a little piece of black felt. Now for a frog, it can be the pupil can be any color, but I think black really showed up well. Hold the penny or the coin very firmly, and then just hold the scissors straight, not at an angle, but it's straight up, and sort of guide it around the penny. And just slowly working around. It just makes a wonderful little shape. And sometimes it's easier than pinning a pattern to cut a very small round shape. I've used them for all of the animals. And the edge of the coin is guiding the scissors, pretty much. Now I take the penny off and I see, can I round this out a little bit? Yes, I see a few little things that could be a tiny bit rounder. You don't have to do this. It's what I like to do, just to make it a little bit rounder. And there we have the pupil for the eyes. Now I'm going to glue these together. And as I said, I will use a fabric glue because it's easier to use on set. So the first step, and I'll just do one, is to glue the white. You glue the one on top. You might have to give this a good squeeze. And if you do this straight up, that helps too. Pull the bottle straight up. Then I line it up on the green, trying to center it, and give it a good press. And then I do the next one that goes on top. And they give us a good squeeze. And then pull it straight up. And put the cap right back on. And then press this down. Give it a really good squeeze. Now you'll see that for the animal's eyes, I've put white dots. That is optional, but I'll show you how to do it. I used paint. I used acrylic paint and the end of a skewer. And I actually do it before I glue the eye together. But in the name of speed, I'll do it right now and show you. I use the end of a skewer. Use whatever size you want your dot to be. Dip it into the paint and then just dip it onto the eye and let it dry. Let it dry for an hour or two before you start working with the eye. So that's, okay, now that I've made the eyes, I'm going to glue them on. Now frog's eyes usually go sort of halfway up. They're not all the way up, they're not all the way down. So I'm going to decide how to put that. And I think I'll just glue the bottom half of this eye on. And really give it a good press. So it looks like that. Now the other eye should be at the same level. Actually, it doesn't have to be. Your frog can be really funky. I do want the dots going in the same direction. So that's something to think about. But you might not want, you might want them to go the other way, in different directions. Okay, so I want to line up the dots and the eyes. And that's pretty good. So it looks like that. And that's the start to the frog. Now the next step for the frog is to do his chest. And it's easy to decide where to place the chest once the eyes are there. And I'm also going to take the mouth. Now I did a really funky mouth, but you can do a curved mouth like on the teddy bear. It's a lot easier, but I wanted to do this. So I just want to see, I'm checking placement now before I glue anything together. So I think the chest should be a little bit lower. Now I'm pretty happy with this. So I'm going to glue the chest on first because I want the tongue to stick over the chest. Okay, so let's do that. Now I've cut these all out using the pattern that I've given you. You know, some frogs, especially in South America, are multicolored. So you don't have to have a green frog. You can have a multicolored frog. Orange legs, blue arms. Now I want to put this kind of there. Give it a good press. Then I will glue the mouth on. Now I did glue the tongue to behind the mouth, and it stuck over the top, so I trimmed it off so it wouldn't show. Now I'm just going to glue the mouth part, not the tongue, because I want the tongue to stick out just a little bit. Okay. So I think that's pretty good. And the tongue is sticking out. It's lifting up a little bit. Now I've also taken the pattern and used a little bit of Liberty. I added a little bit of darker green to it. I just sort of stuck it on, trimmed it, see what it looked like. Now the big ones are the feet. Frog has feet. These are optional. So I think I'll do those next. A little bit of glue here. Now the frog's feet, I can hold it up like this. and then press it under really well. There's one foot. He is a funky frog. And the frog's legs can be askew. They don't have to be symmetrical at all. So I think I will just sort of goof around here. Okay, there are the feet. Now I have to make sure I press it underneath so it really sticks. So it looks like that. Then the last thing are the arms, which are actually legs. And I've cut the edge at an angle so it sticks up like that. So this time, I'm just going to glue the edge. Now I want the arms to go up, so I just sort of put them at the side. And because it's a little glue area, I have to hold it and let it set for a bit. Hopefully in our lifetime. Now I'll do the other one, the other arm. Now these arms are rather long. You can make your, because I really want him to be welcoming you. And there is Funky Frog, ready to make you smile. So I hope you enjoy making these. You can make one for your teacher. You can make one for your desk, or more than one. Any animals you like. This is just a starting point. Now I'll give you some tips for each animal. For the wings in the pattern, I've given you fold on the dotted line. That means you make a pattern, you fold the paper, trace this pattern on the, placing this on the fold, this line on the fold. So you have a wing like this. It's easier to make a wing out of one shape because it's much easier to line up one piece than it is two. Now the stripes, you can just wing it and cut the stripes however wide you want. Or if you want, you can cut a piece of paper. Mine are 1/2 inch, and then pin it to the felt and cut it out. But right now I will show you how to mark felt, dark felt with chalk. So Froggy's going to go over here. This is fun. Just the edge of chalk like this, and it's nice to have a ruler. Decide how wide you want your stripe to be. Use the edge of the chalk on the ruler. And it makes a very nice line. So that's another way to make a stripe. Okay, let's talk about the owl. The owl also has a strip for eyebrows. It's the same width as the stripe on the bee. And for the owl, I would put the chest on first, very near the bottom, and then the eyes. So they're about 1/2 inch apart, and they're about 1/2 inch down from the top, because that gives you room to glue this eyebrow. And owls do have these little things that point out, sort of fun. The wings are just partially glued on, so they stick out. Now the teddy bear, the ears are really a circle, as you'll see in the pattern. So what I did to give them a little shape was to cut the middle, make a slit to the middle like this, and then fold them apart like that and glue this little section. And then after it's glued, the glue is dried, then snipped off the bottom. So then it looks more like an ear rather than a circle. So those are all my hot tips. I hope you enjoy making animal pencil cups for back to school. And I hope you do enjoy school. Thank you for watching us. Have fun. Bye-bye. Hello and welcome to Crafts for Kids. I'm your host, Jann. Today's craft project is a diorama. Now a diorama is a scene that's in a box. And the box size can really vary. In a museum, it can be a whole room with life-size models of plants, animals, people. And in a schoolroom, it can be a shoebox. That's a very common size, or even a little bit larger. And some people actually do dioramas in real miniature in a matchbox. So today's project, I invite you to do something in miniature. How about a diorama in a matchbox slightly bigger than that tiny one? After you have your box, you need a theme. So my theme for this diorama is Autumn in Vermont. And I'll show you what it is. The slow reveal. It's just rows and rows of trees with a few little animals. And the animals, they sort of suggest movement. So it gives a little bit of life to the scene, a little bit of visual movement. I'll show you how to do it. Now we won't be using this size. Let's use something like this. This is about 3 inches by 5 inches. And it's just great fun to take something that would normally head to the recycle bin and do something amusing with it, something delightful. So I'm going to show you in a much larger version. But to get started, you need, for this little one, you need cardstock. Now you can color white cardstock in the colors you like. Maybe you want soft pastels. Maybe you want patterns. So you can do whatever you like. You might want to decorate them with crayons, markers, pencils, something like that. We need glue. White glue works really well. A glue stick too. Tweezers are optional. I found them handy. You will need sharp scissors. And all you need beyond that is an idea, a theme. You've seen what my theme is. You might be inspired by a book that you just read, or a candy store, or maybe a vacation that you went on, something like that, whatever you want. So here's my attempt to show you the technique for doing it. I'm using a large box, and I will use cardstock, which is actually too flimsy for a box this size. But it'll give you the idea of the technique. So the first step in preparing your box is to do the background. Now the background sets the mood. If you want to do a Halloween set, for instance, do you want it to be black or purple or orange? Do you want it to be an ocean scene with sunny skies and a nice blue sky? I chose a blue sky. So to do that, it can be painted or paper. I chose paper. You set the box on the paper and then draw around it and then cut it out. And then once you have it, you trim off one long side and one short side, just a little bit at a time, because the inside will be smaller than the outside. And just keep testing it. And once you have the right size, glue it in. Now that's the only thing you glue in at this point. The diorama will be this way. You can do it that way if you want, but they're often done this way. So that's your choice. Now the next step is to make the base. So this is going to be the base. So we set this on a piece of paper. This time we do need paper. Trace around it and trim it just a little bit at a time so it fits in. So that's what I've done here. I'm just going to put this to the side. This is the base. Mine is a cityscape, and we're going to work in rows. So we start, and because this is too flimsy really for the size, they keep falling over, but you'll get the idea. So we're going to work in rows of buildings, and we're going to start in the back and go to the front. This is the front. The very first one you make, whatever it is, can go in the center back. And we need a little glue tab. So take your shape, and for a box this size, this little glue tab is going to be about 1/8 of an inch. Now for something bigger, it'll be bigger. So we put glue here and then press it in place on the background. So it's often good to do the center one first. And this one in the center sort of stabilizes the design. It gives it a little bit of symmetry. Not that you always want it, but it's a good way to start. And then add other shapes to fill out the back row. And that's what I did with these little trees. It's row after trees, and they're different shapes. So I'll put this back here. So now that I have the back row, I'm going to fill in the next row. And I want the buildings to be a little bit shorter, so you can see the ones in the back, but not much. So this time, it doesn't matter what order you put it in, but I'll use a little bit of white glue and just glue this tab. It's a slow and sort of peaceful project, and we don't usually work small for this show. So I thought it might be nice to do that. And I think I'll just stagger this building a little bit and just press it that way. And just press the building down and let it set for a moment. So that's one building. Let's see. I think I'll do a nice green one next. Now, I didn't put a tab on this yet. So one way to do it is just to fold it. I'll put this right here. Just fold it. You don't have to measure it. Give it a nice good press. And you always want to glue the outside. You'll see, this is not a difficult craft. It just calls for a little bit of patience. And that's the idea. And then you can keep filling it up. And then to add some interest, I think I would put an animal in there, like a dog or a bird or something like that, just to suggest some movement. Now, if you want, you can, just for fun, I tried to do a very little one. So here's my very little one. But I invite you to try to do something different than you usually do. So I hope you enjoy making your diorama, and thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.